especially on such a snowy day. I know it's hard to get back out, especially if you've gotten home after a long day of work, but thank you for coming out tonight. My name is Sarah Adelman. I am the chair of the Liberty Wells Community Council. And before we get started, I just have a couple of business items that I'd like to take care of. First of all, do we have a quorum of board members tonight? Can all board members who are present raise their hand? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Not quite, so we will have to take another quorum later. One of the agenda items today will be taking a community vote on our bylaws. So I want to make sure that we have a quorum of board members here for that, but this is something that the community members can also weigh in on, and that'll be at the end of our agenda tonight. Just a quick notice, this meeting is being live streamed and recorded. For all those who will be presenting tonight, keep in mind that we do have an audience outside of the room as well. So try to speak loudly when you're talking, not just for those of us in the room, but also for those of us who are at home. And if you hear questions from the audience, please just repeat the question back so that everyone in the audience can hear what the question was, and then before you go into the actual response of it. Anything else I forgot there, Zach? Cool. If you missed our last meeting, that recording is available on YouTube. There's a link on the agenda. If you get our emails, you can also just click that. Add your name to the roll. This helps us keep track of how many people attend our meetings and just gives us a gauge for what our community engagement is. So you're not obligated to check the email box, but please sign your name either way. A couple other quick things. We have printed surveys at the back of the room. Also, if you get our emails, you should have gotten an online link to that. We are looking for your feedback. We want you to get the most important information that you can out of our meetings, out of our website, out of our social media. So this is an opportunity to tell us what you want to hear about and what issues are important to you. So if you haven't had a chance to grab the survey, forms and pencils are in the back of the room, or you can always fill it out online at home later. We're also launching a photo contest. Janae talked about this a little bit at our last meeting. We are just about to launch a website redesign. And as you know, a website is only as good as the content in it, and we want to be able to really showcase the community. Your favorite places, your favorite businesses, maybe your favorite people in the community. If you have a great photo of Liberty Wells, this is an opportunity to submit it to our photo contest. Ultimately, it would be featured on our website, but we'll also be announcing some fun prizes in the next few weeks, so there are some opportunities to win prizes for those photos as well. So definitely submit those, and you might get a little bit of claim to fame on our website. All right. Oh, one last thing. Bucket. We are a nonprofit organization, and we have fundraisers throughout the year, but this is an opportunity. If these types of meetings are valuable to you, feel free to drop just a little change in here, and this goes back to the programs that we host for the community.
We need to tell them we want a silent collection.
We want a what?
Silent collection.
Yes.
We don't want change.
Yeah, no jingling, please. Okay. Now I'd like to introduce our first speaker for the evening. We have John and Casey Francis from Amour Cafe. They provided the amazing treats for us tonight, so thanks for coming out.
Thank you, Sarah. I'm John Francis. This is my wife, Casey. We are the proud owners of Amour Cafe and Amour Spreads, which is 1 block south of here on 1300 East. The address is 1329 South 5th East, and right on the corner of 1329 South 5th East in Sherman. So for those of you who have not had a chance to come visit us, we'd love for you to come be a part of what we have created there. Just to give you a little history of who we are and where we got started, we started our business in 2011 as Amour Spreads. And the very first jar of jam we cooked as a commercial jam maker was in the kitchen that used to be Eiffel Tower Catering. So the same building that we're now in today, is where we actually began our business. We live just the other side of Liberty Park, so we think of Liberty Wells as our neighborhood. While we don't live within the confines, we're a stone's throw away, almost literally. We love being a part of the neighborhood, and after making Amour spreads, being a part of farmers markets, we had the opportunity to invest in the building and to transform it into the cafe, which we opened in 2016. So we'll celebrate our 3rd anniversary this summer, and we're really excited both about the support we've gotten from all of you in the community, the fact that we really feel like we are a fabric that's very local. Much of the food that we make there is sourced locally. All of the pastries come either from our own kitchen, or they're also sourced from other local pastry shops. The bread we use is made locally from Bread Riot and from Eva's Bakery. We make our own gelatos in-house. We make seasonal soups and salads in-house. We have a signature grilled cheese sandwich. We serve our award-winning jams with all of our egg plates and toasts that we provide at the cafe. We have a really nice, small, but really, I think, great menu with a strong focus on local. Casey, do you want to add anything?
We just added baguette sandwiches, super simple. We have a rustic ham and butter, and then a fig jam, brie, mustard, and arugula. And we're going to do a little giveaway. We have it over by the mini cookies, which are our signature cookies for all of our beverages. There's an email sign up, so if you would like a chance to win a $15 gift card to the cafe, feel free to add your email.
Yep, so we'll go ahead and just go through emails at the end of the day today. Tomorrow we'll let the person know who's got their name drawn out of the hat, and we'll email you to let you know that you're the winner of the $15 gift card. So we'd love to have you come by, and we'd love you to participate. We have a number of things that we're looking forward to doing in the upcoming year, and so we're trying to expand and add names to our email list. Even if you think you may already be on it, sign up again tonight. We'll still put you in the drawing for the gift card. So we want to make sure that we get an opportunity to stay in touch with you as we have new events and new happenings happening at the cafe through the year. Any questions?
I didn't have time for dinner, and you're making me even hungry.
Sorry about that.
I'll just do a testimonial. I usually send my kids to school to meet their teacher with a jar of your jam because it always goes over really well. And you guys donated to my son's preschool silent auction a couple years ago, so thank you.
That's
You're
right,
welcome.
I remember. Yay.
Well, thank you for
Appreciate
coming.
that.
And we hope to see more of you there as the year unfolds. Thanks so much.
Thank you, John and Casey. I definitely plan to enter in the drawing and partaking of some of those things. So. All right, next up on our agenda, we have representatives from Modal, who is going to be working on prefab auxiliary dwelling units. They are also here just to talk about what the ordinance means for the community and some of the opportunities and challenges there. And they'll also have the opportunity to take questions from you as well. So Colin and Dallin, are you here? Dallin? Great. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. You'll have to correct me on the record.
How's it going? Glad to be here. I'm Dallin. This is my partner Colin. This is an important meeting for us. I actually live in the community, and so this is we were really excited to come by and talk about. It's one of the projects that we're working on, and I live just right up on Williams Avenue. So the ADU ordinance had just passed in Salt Lake City mid-October, which was, if you're not familiar, ADU or accessory dwelling units allows to have more of like a guest house or a cottage-style home in your backyard or attached into your home. And that is proving and has been proved around the nation as a huge solving problem for the housing crisis and problems of density. We have some brochures out on the back table, so if you're interested in looking through those, you can take them home with you and go over those. My background is construction and architecture, and so going through this process with the ADU, as I really wanted to put one in my own property, based on the benefits of having an investment property, and for me personally, mortgages they're tight, and so this was an opportunity for me to facilitate my yard that was already there and unused basically to me, and put a guest house and accessory dwelling unit to facilitate my mortgage and income. So one of the things that we really wanted to come here is not just talk about our specific ADU that we're doing, but the benefits of that, and also how it affects our community and what that means for our neighborhoods and communities. Salt Lake City passed this ordinance in response to a lot of the community members wanting this ordinance to be changed, and following suit with a lot of the like cities around the nation. Portland has done it, Los Angeles, a lot of the cities in California, and all over the nation. And it's an important piece of housing stock for our communities and neighborhoods, because it does allow us to increase our property values, to house our friends and family, our college student or a high school student who just recently left, or also our mother-in-law. A lot of them are called mother-in-law suites, and also adding additional housing stock to the city. One of the things that we really like about ADUs is, instead of building big high-rises all downtown, we can spread that development throughout the city and also create income for homeowners rather than just developers alike. So there's a whole lot of stuff. We don't want to take too much time on what the ADU is, but more of how it affects us and what that looks like in our communities. We kind of put a neighborhood impact sheet together on here that shows the pros and the cons. I'll just go over those really quickly. The pros are to provide an investment opportunity for homeowners to generate additional income, to broaden the range of housing options in the city, to stimulate local economy by increasing density in neighborhoods, more efficient use of space which preserves neighborhood integrity and frees up land that can be used for public space, offer a means for residents, particularly seniors, single parents, and families with grown children, to remain in their homes and neighborhoods. Some of the cons that we've seen from the feedback from the community is potentially more concentrated street parking, less privacy for homeowners with ADUs, and smaller usable yard space. So that was some of the feedback that we have gotten. Our unit that we had designed is designed specifically for Salt Lake City, and I based it off of my yard, which is right here in Liberty Wells, because it's a very typical lot. It's about 0.10 of an acre. It's 42 feet wide and about 110 feet long. So we designed a unit that does fit seamlessly in the back without taking up too much space. Just wanted to go over our specific product is prefabricated in its modular construction, which has a whole lot of environmental and economic benefits. One of those being for the neighborhood is that you don't have any construction that happens in your backyard. It actually happens all off-site, and it's prefabricated and shipped down the road. A lot of those modular units get a bad rap as kind of mobile homes, and our specific product is geared to provide a high-end, more modern, updated rendition of what a modular housing stock could look like. Our unit is full 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom, kitchen and living, 432 square feet for ours. And that's about the size that most of these ADUs would be. I've been contacted multiple times, and I built ADUs in the city as a contractor and designed multiple ADUs in the city as well. And this new ordinance allows these ADUs to not be in residential zones, and that's basically all of Liberty Wells. So it's an important ordinance that it passed for this community council specifically to know about, discuss, and hear the benefits from. Our impact statement for our company is Modal Living is a public benefit corporation focused on designing and improving housing solutions. For the economic, Modal provides construction. And we've been really specific in trying to hear a lot of the feedback. One of those things that we've heard is that people just can't afford them, and that was a huge barrier to entry. Is they don't have enough equity in their home, or they can't get another option to purchase. And so we tackled that problem. We tried to head on with some big financial partners that allowed us to do self-financing, where we're able to actually place these units, and we have 3 different purchase options. One is just a direct purchase that you could purchase, place in your home, or place in your backyard rather, and do whatever you like with it. You could use it as a studio or as an extra office, or rent it out or put your mother-in-law or son back there. The other option for somebody that doesn't have maybe the income to purchase outright or the equity is we have a leaseback option. We'll place in your yard at no cost to you, and we lease the unit back, or you lease the unit back from us for $800 a month. Just starting, those are some rough figures, but it gives you, as the homeowner, an option to actually take advantage of the income that can be generated. Tenants in their backyard and have that kind of co-living situation. My brother has an ADU in his basement, but his biggest thing is he's like, it's good because it's the extra income, but I don't like being neighbor wall to wall, ceiling to floor with my tenants. And so I really like that the ADU ordinance was passed and allows be able to have these detached ADUs in people's backyards, and it gives that separation of space while keeping the integrity of the neighborhood. I really think that within the next 50 years, this is the solution to help the housing crisis, because if not, it's just going to be high-rises everywhere based on density, and we really want to keep a lot of the homeowners and neighborhoods. And I think this is a really good in-between solution between a density problem and also keeping a neighborhood thing. We had a good community council meeting with Glendale, and one of the things that the board member of Glendale brought up is that he was really excited because a lot of the people in that area are barely being able to afford their mortgage as it is, and so this could provide a solution for them to actually stay in their homes in their neighborhoods, which is what we want. I mean, we want people to be able to stay where they grew up or where they have home ownership. So
we don't want to take too much time, but we do want to open it up to questions. I don't know if we have a lot of time, but we want to take as many questions as we can.
I'll just jump in with your question really quick. Do you guys have examples of the model of ADU that you will be offering?
Yeah, so we've got a few renderings on here on the photos. We're actually building our first spec unit right now, and we're working locally with City Creek we're kind of in the finalizing stages of placing that unit there for everybody to actually go tour before we start selling and talking to the different people. One of the things we wanted to do early on was talk to the community council and get those feedback. But we are building our Modal 1 is what we're calling it, our prototype unit that is completely modular, that can be shipped and actually be placed for everybody to go look at and go through and see if it's something right for your neighborhood and for the backyard. So, John?
Prefab is fantastic. Where are the prefabs made? Are they here in Utah or somewhere else?
Yeah, so that's one of the big things. There's not a really, hopefully nobody's offended. There's not a really good prefab manufacturer here in Utah yet. We'd like to be that one eventually. We'd obviously need to grow into that, but we've got manufacturers lined up in southern Alberta, in Idaho. I've been talking with Oregon, and then also one in Utah. So it's all West Coast for now, but there isn't a good solution for a high-end prefab construction. attract jobs. So that's what our goal is eventually.
So I am interested in it as a mother-in-law, but how accessible would it be for somebody, as they get older and they need more?
Yeah, so it's all single level living. It's not a traditional. A lot of people talk about tiny homes. It's not a tiny home. It's a smaller guest home, but it is all single level, full size bedroom, full size bathroom. That it's not a studio. It's a full size bedroom and bathroom and living area, and it is. Yeah, I mean it's got like a small step up, but it'd be just put a ramp up to it. It'd be really easy as a single level living.
You said it's prefab and modular, and there's no construction. You can just place it, but you have to lay a pad, and you have to do a sewer line, you have to
Yes.
do water lines, and you don't have to bury power lines. So it's construction. It's just less construction.
It's less construction. That's right. There's the site work, utility hookup,
Do
and
you
prep.
need to do like footings and foundations, or can you just do a pad?
Yeah, so I've designed the unit to be on a continuous I-beam structure, like a skid basically. It's a W1030 I-beam that goes all the way around the base. So we've designed them to actually do without any concrete at all. There's what's called a helical screw pile. It's this new technology for prefab. It's basically a big drill bit that you can place. You put it on the end of a skidster and drill it in, and it's 6 pillar points. And we can put that. They have a saddle on them, and that's what bolts onto the unit. So you don't have to do concrete. Concrete's great, but it is messy and it is pretty invasive, especially with doing it in your backyard with craning and everything. So we designed the unit to be all metal and skirted like that, rather than have any concrete, which allows itself also to, if in the future you did want to move it or get rid of it, you actually could technically pick it up, unstrap it, and move it in that way.
Can I ask you a question off the subject?
Sure.
You guys own the lot on 5th East and 13th South?
That's right.
Because you were here and we did, I can't remember, we approved something.
Yes.
And you've never done anything. What are your plans for that lot?
So we spent a full year in the permitting department in Salt Lake City, which was tough, but we just received a building permit about 3 days ago. So keep an eye out the next couple
So
of
you're
weeks.
moving ahead with it?
Yes. Yeah, so we just barely got the permit this couple days ago. So.
We'd love to have you come back and present on that.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'd be more than happy to.
Some more questions.
Yeah.
I just wondered what your price range was. I know you don't know for sure. But
Yeah, we do. We have a good idea. Our system that our kind of sales program and system that we've created is something that would be like kind of an all-in program where we actually manage the permitting process with you as a contractor would, and do all the permitting. And so that would include the impact fees, the permitting, all the site work, the shipping, the unit itself, and everything. We're thinking about $120,000 landed in your backyard, hooked up to utilities, and performing. And actually the unit have all built-in furniture. So for you or your tenant, you don't have to go in and spend a whole extra fortune on more furniture. You just need a mattress, basically. So that's.
We could probably take one more question. Do I see another hand?
My hand was up, but it's almost answered. I was going to ask if you had a range. I wasn't sure if the utility hookup was included in your price.
It is. It's included in our price up into kind of threshold, right? So if you've got a huge property that we have to pull lines way far back, then there would be an additional cost. But we have a scope that we have as a fairly typical backyard size that 120,000 would meet. Beyond that, and we also do have options to do garages. Do a garage with the unit on top, as long as it meets all those requirements. We've been really careful when working with Salt Lake City Planning and Building quite extensively to make sure that this unit is designed and built that meets the setback requirements and all those zoning regulations for Salt Lake City.
And just as a follow-up to that, have you heard from the city how the ordinance is going? Are they getting a lot of interest or challenges to the rules that they've come up with?
Yeah, they have. It's from what I've talked to, it's been a good response so far. One of the issues is that it's good or bad depending on how you think of the ordinance, but a lot of the residential zones are conditional use, so you do have to go through another planning commission to get that approval, and that was one of the conditions that the planning commission had passed that ordinance with, that condition of having a conditional use with the residential zones. The multifamily zones are permitted, and certain other zones are permitted, but so that's been one thing. It's been a frustrating thing for a lot of people, is saying, well, I thought I could do this now, and now hearing that I can do that, but it's another 3 months to go through the planning commission process has been hard. We'd really like to get that changed and have it be permitted across the board, but it obviously comes in baby steps, and it is a new ordinance, and it is a really important ordinance, and so we want to do it right. We want to be able to facilitate this new ordinance with the right product, and that's kind of where we came in, is to do it right and from the beginning, and hopefully help the city grow in that status. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys, and we definitely do want to have you back on the other projects that you're working on too.
For sure, thank you.
All right, now on to our main agenda item. Mayor Biskupski, thank you so much for coming out tonight. I know you are very busy, and this is the second to last night of legislative session on top of it. So thanks for making some time to come out tonight. I do want this to be an opportunity for us to ask questions, to engage in dialogue. This will be the bulk of our meeting. We'd like to dedicate the rest, as much time as you have, to this conversation.
Okay, well, good. Well, lots to cover. I was given a little information ahead of time to just come prepared with. So I did bring some things to talk about for sure. But thank you for being here, and I hope everyone's enjoying this last bit of snow. I know I will. All right, so a couple things that I was asked to touch on. One, I as mayor was appointed to be a chair and a co-chair of two different committees for the U.S. Because the Trump administration wanted to pull out of the Paris Climate Agreement. So I am chairing work across the country with C2ES. We are a public-private partnership, and we are moving the United States to live up to the Paris Climate Agreement. And here in Utah, the reason that's so important is our state is warming at twice the global rate, and the same issues causing our air pollution are causing our state to warm. So I took this on, and I'm happy to do this work. When Salt Lake City went 100% renewable with our energy goals in 2016, we were the 16th city in the entire country to take on that. And it was my job to recruit other cities and inform them on how they could go 100% renewable. We now have over 100 cities in the country that are going 100% renewable. And I partnered with Sierra Club on that work. So that's my other committee that I co-chair. So that's been great. I want to say thank you for supporting Funding Our Future. When we went to the community and we polled you on your priorities, what we heard was fix our roads. We want more transit opportunities so we can get out of our cars and help clear the air. We want affordable housing, and we want more law enforcement. So we've been focused on all four of those areas for you. So thank you for supporting Funding Our Future. And then for voting for the bond last fall, because that piece helps us actually replace our worst roads. So that insurgence of bond money will be helpful. We'll pull that down incrementally, but that is part of the project. So Funding Our Future, we now have a dashboard. You can see where all the new tax dollars are going into those 4 pots online. So you can watch what's happening with your new tax dollars and see the projects firsthand. The other thing is we're rebuilding the airport on the same location that the current airport is on. It's a $3.6 billion project. It's on time, it's on budget, and not one taxpayer dollar is involved. So keep that in mind. We are managing that project extremely well. We did have one unfortunate incident out there, and that is being investigated, so we'll see what happens with that. Our affordable housing plan, so when I came into office, We created the first affordable housing plan probably in the last 20 years. And I launched the Blue Ribbon Commission. And the Blue Ribbon Commission was made up of bankers, developers, housing experts, and we created a path for our community through the Affordable Housing Plan and with the Blue Ribbon Commission. My goal was to have 1,000 affordable units in the pipeline. We actually have 2,500 in the pipeline. So that's how amazing this work became and how many people started to buy into it and the importance of it and the value of it, and it's really remarkable. We are doing something unprecedented in the entire state. So kudos to the team at Salt Lake, in our housing and neighborhood development team. Melissa Jensen was leading that effort. We also have in the pipeline transitional housing units, some permanent supportive housing mixed into these development projects, so that people can transition from a homeless resource center to a housing unit. So we're building those. We have about 450 of those that are in the pipeline as well, to make sure that we are covering all our bases on the new service model for people experiencing homelessness. You'll find that the Salt Lake City Resource Centers will open in June. The one in South Salt Lake will open in August. And right now we have a youth one that's already open, a family one that's already open, and we also have one for mothers with children who the mothers are suffering from addiction. That one's open as well. So we've got several other resource centers open in the valley right now that are working very well. Let's see, public safety over the last year, Salt Lake City PD graduated 81 cadets. We staffed vacant positions and added new positions. We have another class going on right now. We will continue to meet the demands of making sure that public safety is meeting our needs. We just finished a 911 study, so we'll be poring over that and implementing some changes around that. Let's see. We also have well, let's do this. So, Lisa, do you want to talk about the 911 study at all? Like, just a little bit on what we were looking at and some of the things that we might be covering? You want to touch on that a little bit?
Yes, ma'am, sure. So for everyone that doesn't know me, I'm Lisa Burnett. I'm director of Salt Lake City 911. I have spoken to a few of you on the phone, and I'm excited to be here, actually. So the mayor had received numerous complaints about 911 and some of the problems that we were experiencing, and so we conducted checking with my staff to see how well some administrative changes have been going, and checking with the public, checking with responders, checking with other agencies. Matrix Consulting was the firm that received the RFP, and they did an intensive study that went from March of last year to just recently. We still don't have a final, but we have a final draft. So we're going to meet with the mayor and other members of the cabinet to discuss their findings, and hopefully we'll make it public very soon. But I've seen the preliminary, and I'm actually very excited. I'm happy for the changes that we've made. Salt Lake City 911 believes in a servant leadership model where it starts with me. So if there's problems with Salt Lake City 911, you're looking at the person who needs to fix it. And so with saying that, one of the things that I wanted to do is ensure that my staff, who, it's with every government job, right? But 911 dispatchers actually don't make a lot of money. And not only do they not make a lot of money, but no one calls 911 because they're having a great day, right? So we really have to focus on retaining our staff. We want to retain our senior staff. We want to look at bringing laterals from other agencies to Salt Lake City, because I believe we have a great benefits package and a lot to provide. And I want to see what I can do to make conditions for our employees better. Because I believe if our employees are happy, they're going to pass that good customer service on to you. And that's our goal.
Very good. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to take a moment to applaud you guys on the work that you're doing in this. I know this issue came up at the November 2017 community council meeting here. We had a lot of comments from the public about the dispatch issues, and you took the issue very seriously, and we did see immediate action, and I think this survey is a direct result of that. So
Yes,
thank you.
absolutely. All right.
So I want you to know too that if thank you very much. I did put my email address on the clipboard that was going around, and I really would like to hear from you. I don't believe that I should be the one applauded. I believe it should be you, because you make such a difference in your community. And without you speaking up and saying, you know what, 911 sucks, you have to fix this, we wouldn't really have a starting point, right? So with the mayor's changes, some of the things that I've been trying to implement and having her support, hopefully we'll have everything exactly where we need it to be. And we want to serve our communities. So good job for you guys. Yes, George.
What's the status of priority dispatch? Is that going to change, or did that come out okay on the audit?
How about if I
It's part
said
of
this?
the audit. It's part of the audit that we actually need to pour over. So there are some things that we'll be talking about on that. So give us a chance to work through that.
I think
Okay?
you'll be pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
And I can't
So,
really say anything else.
But you always stay on top of it, George. All right. All right. Real quick, I do want to touch on, so we are doing clean energy. The original goal was 2032. New science has come out. We now have to get clean by 2030. So I have to go back to the council this year. I'm gonna get them on board with a new resolution. We have a bill on Capitol Hill we're trying to get done that will be helpful, and hopefully that passes. But we need to all understand that we actually lost some ground on climate change over the last 2 years since I've been mayor, and in the last 3 years. So we've got a lot of work to do, and I take that work very seriously, and we are working very hard with Rocky Mountain Power. They are cooperating and really doing this work with us. By the way, out of the 100+ communities in this country, 5 of them are actually in Utah, and I'm very proud of that. We have Moab, Cottonwood Heights, Summit County, Park City, and Salt Lake City. Out of the 100, just a little over 100, 5 are in our state, which is a big deal. So we'll keep moving. The other things we've been doing to help clear our air is we have a benchmark now for buildings and how much they pollute, and then we work with them to get some incentives from the Rocky Mountain Power and Dominion Energy, and try and help buildings clean their act up a little bit. We also are the first in the country to build net zero fire stations. We have 2 of them. If you haven't toured either one of them, you should. They're amazing. And they're really the model moving forward for communities across this country. And we're very proud to lay that groundwork for other communities to follow. And we've had several tours on our facilities from other communities coming here. Let's see. The other thing I'm doing on clean air is I'm suing the state on the Inland Port. So we launched that. My back was against the wall on a bill that they ended up changing today that was a day late, $1 short, but I'm proud of the work we've done leading up to this moment, and I think we'll have success in this endeavor, but we'll see what happens. The courts need to really decide who has the authority to do municipal services, and the way that I believe that this inland port has come together is not constitutional, and we have a very strong case, and we will take it to the courts, so we'll see what happens there. They did, however, miraculously pass Senator Lou Escamilla's bill to do a baseline study of air quality in the west part of our community, and that bill was going nowhere fast, and all of a sudden it's passed, so which is great. We want that baseline. The funding has to come with it now. They have to actually fund the bill, and then we can take action on that baseline study, which I think is very important for all of us. Let's see. We have some transportation stuff. Julianne, do you want to come up and talk a little bit about what we're doing on transportation? So there's the roundabout on 9th South, 13th East, transit. We love the service we're going to see on 9th South.
And summoning Tom, who has a lot of information.
Yeah, that's good too.
As well.
Welcome, Tom. Thank you. Okay.
Do you want to talk roundabout, and then I can talk about transit?
Sure. Yeah. Following a on a new design that we had come up with for that intersection, which, if you're unfamiliar with it, is 900 South and 1100 East. It has 5 legs to it, 5 points. It's stop signs on all 5 legs, and you can't go more than a couple seconds without hearing honking horns and somebody braking pretty hard. So instead of coming up with a design and then kind of closing ourselves off to community input, we listened. We chose the 2 designs that people really, really wanted us to test out. We tested them for a week each, so 2 weeks total. And the design that received not only the most feedback, most positive feedback from the public, but also the most positive feedback from the hard, nerdy traffic data that we collected as well, was to convert that intersection into a roundabout, which that design tends to do really well when you have these odd number of legs leading into an intersection or at a weird angle. So after support from the community, including this community, the city council amended the budget in order to provide the additional funding that we needed for that roundabout design, and that will be wrapped into a reconstruction of 900 South from Lincoln Street, which is about 950 East, all the way up to 1300 East by East High School, which will begin next month. So that real crummy road that you're used to driving on will now be a brand new, fresh concrete road. In addition to the roundabout, there will be a lot of new crosswalks so that it's much easier to cross 900 South, and a section of the 9-line trail, which is a walking and bicycling trail, will run along the south side of 900 South. So all in all, a lot of changes, but definitely a lot of improvements as well.
Thank you.
And transit, we have a lot coming. I'll talk about what's most relevant, I think, in this neighborhood is increased service that will probably be detoured due to the 900 South project for a period of time.
A month, 2 months tops.
It'll be worth it.
It'll be worth it. That service is going to be great. It'll run along 900 South. It goes all the way from Poplar Grove all the way up to the University of Utah along 900 South. So, and it runs till midnight, Monday through Saturday. Runs every 15 minutes. It runs Sundays every 30 minutes from 7 to 7. So it's a lot more robust service.
Yeah, we've never had Sunday service, so that's a new thing. Also important to remember that this high frequency route will allow students now who live in Poplar Grove but go to East High School to stay and participate longer in school activities, and that's a real meaningful shift for many, many kids to be able to stay there, do their homework, work, or play, or whatever it is. But I mean, it's a game changer for the students, and this will start in August with the school year, so it's very exciting.
It is. It's great. The other one that's relevant to this neighborhood, I think, or most relevant, is on 2100 South, and so kind of at the southern end. It will do the same thing, same service hours on the existing Route 21.
And up to Highland,
Yep.
which matters also, because we have many kids that are being bused to Highland as well. So, any questions on transportation or transit? All right, excellent. Well done. All right, let's do civil enforcement. Dr. Seelig, come on up here, and Tony Milner. Let's talk civil enforcement and building services, nuisance abatement, Georgia Apartments, for instance. Oh, Orion, yeah, come on up. Sorry. Nate, you want to get up here? You want to be in the here? Right here is the camera.
Oh, great.
I
know, right?
All right, you want to start? Who do you want to start? Orion?
Or
we can have fire. Chief Lee, do you want to start?
Do you want us to talk about the
Yeah, why don't you, let's start with Georgia and red tag and how it works. Let's do that. Does that work?
Sure.
Okay.
Absolutely, Mayor.
All right.
So, hello, good evening. Happy to be here. I'm Carl Lee, I'm the fire chief. Okay, so I'm going to share with you a little bit about what went on at Georgia Apartments. Many of you read about it in the newspaper, correct? We identified this property over a year ago as having some safety issues. We worked with the owner for several months. Ultimately, the discrepancies regarding fire safety and egress capability were not addressed, and so subsequently we made a decision that that building was unsafe to occupy, period. Told out, we don't take any pleasure in finding alternative housing for people that quickly, all right? So we gathered the city services. We had multiple departments involved in this, from housing to community neighborhoods to police department to fire prevention bureau, health department, and so many entities involved. Communicated all the available services throughout the city and the county. We got that information to those residents, and we gave them 5 days ultimately to find alternative housing or to seek services that we made available. 90% of those occupants did seek services, and 100% of them were successful in finding alternative housing. And we followed up with many of them as we see. Yeah. I think almost 100%.
Almost 100%.
There, of course, there.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I can speak to that specifically. But,
Yeah.
you know, traditionally there are people that are resistant to, we call them resistant to those type of services. They just do not seek out those assistance. And we see that with the people experiencing homelessness as well. But in this case, we were very successful in transitioning these people to alternative housing. Right now, the building is vacant. We have allowed the residents that were there previously to get in and retrieve their goods. It is secure. There is a fire watch in place provided by the owner now, not by the city and the fire department. And that is going to continue to the 18th of this month. And at that point, we are going to turn that security and the building over to the owner to remove all existing goods in the building. We call it a fire load. So we're talking about furniture, clothing, other goods that were left from the occupants there. All that fire load needs to be removed from the building for it to officially become vacant. All right, so that should occur on the 25th of this month.
So one of the things that we found in this process were that people were, in many cases, stuck where they were. And what I mean by that is that people were paying market rent on some of these apartments that were just totally deplorable. Structural issues, insects, drugs out in the hallway, dangerous environments. And people didn't know how to connect with services or didn't know how to get out of their day-to-day. And that was one of the learnings that we had as a city, to make sure that in the future going forward that we are very, very cognizant and mindful about how we connect people with services. And without Tony Milner here from HAND, our Housing and Neighborhood Development, getting these folks, most of them, in housing opportunities that were far better than before. And Tony, could you talk a little bit about the partnerships that you helped create with different stakeholders out in the community?
Sure, yeah. So Tony Milner with Housing and Neighborhood Development. So thankfully we partner with a lot of different housing partners in the community. So we kind of put the APB out for them to basically say this is happening because it's a safety hazard. We need your support. And so thankfully we had all of our partners come to the table. This was the Road Home. This was the Housing Authority for the city, the Housing Authority for the county, Utah Community Action. We also had Department of Workforce Services, even the other side, Academy Movers. So we had movers involved as well. We had an animal rescue organization pitch in to volunteer to help as well. And so all those organizations kind of came to the table last minute in a very rapid response. We put up a housing outreach center at the county building because it was very close. And so we did a couple days of outreach. Everyone who kind of came in were kind of shell-shocked by the fact that they were going to have to move. But we basically talked to them about their housing options. Another one was Utah Nonprofit Housing Corporation. So basically all these organizations kind of came with either their housing location resources, rent deposit resources, available units available, and we just basically did quick assessments, lined everybody up, got them through the process, got them out the door, and then again, out of 31 occupied units, as of now, 29 have actually got into other additional new housing. And like Jennifer was saying too, the housing is actually been a blessing because they were paying $900 for a 2-bedroom, $750 for a 1-bedroom, cockroaches, bed bugs, absolute garbage, toilets that didn't flush. We had a 94-year-old man that was heating his unit just with his oven. The stories go on and on about how awful this place was and how bad that this landlord put these individuals into harm. We had individuals who were blind, seniors being taken advantage of by other people who had kind of moved in. It was a very bad situation, but thankfully, due to our partners, we were able to kind of put them into new resources. And again, the best thing about these new places is that they're in their new place. We got them furniture vouchers from the Deseret Industries, which is also part of and through the Road Home. So they have new furniture. We helped them out with moving assistance. The local LDS church helped them move as well as the Other Side Academy. But they're actually paying less rent because they're paying in their income-restricted affordable units. We got them food orders as well. We're helping stabilize them in their new situations. We got them in set-aside units for seniors, for people with disabilities. When I talk to them and see how they're doing, they say, I have a thermostat, I can turn it up, I can turn it down. So in all of this, so thanks so much to the fire department for actually going in and stepping in, but then huge thank you to our community partners. We just basically lined them up, got them there, and so this is the community outreach response was phenomenal. We're so happy to have been able to serve those individuals and get them in a much, much better situation.
Yeah, Tony was the mastermind behind how we do this. So this is our community work, and this is, how we go in, we inspect, we hold landlords accountable. If they're not willing to be accountable, then our fire department can take an action. And then Tony mastermind how we move forward with fire to make this really, truly effective. And kudos to both of these teams for the work that you were doing. Go ahead.
Just a question on how you guys might be able to replicate this, because you said it was pretty successful. A lot of times folks are resistant to services or change, but they were able to take advantage of this. But this was a reached a crisis situation. They had to move or else kind of thing. How can we, I guess, is there a way to address these kinds of issues at other locations in the future before it gets to that point, or will it always have to kind of be?
had to
this
give
process?
property owners an opportunity to do their part, right? And because this property owner would not do her part, then we were able to really kind of take over the situation, right? But if they're cooperating and they're doing everything, and we go back and we can inspect and we can see that the changes we've required for safety reasons are in place, you know, then there's not a lot you can do, right? But we are willing to really get into these buildings and work with people. And
in my backyard for 30 days.
That's a good thing. And a huge shout out to Tim Cosgrove. He's the District 5 liaison. He picked up Georgia Apartments right where I left off when I transitioned to my new role in the mayor's office. And a huge shout out to Tim for coordinating all of these efforts, and Jen Seelig and us to,
yeah,
to
there
work
were
with
several
all these
people right in my office that were carrying furniture, so. Yeah, Tim being David, I think.
We're just
no, David. Yeah. Yeah,
Mayor,
so.
Sorry, I just wanted to say thank you in general. I feel like the media didn't give you and your administration kind of a fair handshake with the whole Georgia Apartments, and those of us that live here in Liberty Wells, and I personally make it an effort to drive by the Georgia Apartments every day to just keep my eye on it for the past couple of years, and have sent many requests to the local media that
for all of us in working together and stepping outside of these silos and boxes and reaching out to our community partners, and Tony's efforts and everyone's efforts and the fire department's lead on it. It takes a lot of political courage to be able to trust in the expertise in your city departments and in your community members, and trusting what you all are saying and wanting to do something good all the way around. And so without you all and without the mayor, we wouldn't have been able to do this. So thank you, and thank you.
Teamwork, thank you. All right, Chief Brown, you want to talk a little bit about your role in this process?
Yeah, I mean, for many years you guys have had an Eastside Bike Squad. I know you love them. They work very hard in the parks, along State Street, up in the Sugar House. Well, they have worked very hard in that area, the Georgia Apartments. They've made numerous arrests. I mean, hundreds of arrests. We appreciate the phone calls. I know at times you were very upset and you were frustrated with what was going on, but we cannot always arrest our way out of these problems. And we're dealing with people that are experiencing homelessness, addiction, mental health issues. And so when Carl and this team put this together, this was a godsend to the police department because now we had a team that we could go in and to work together to provide help for those that really were trapped in this situation. I mean, we had people that were, these are very service-resistant people. This is all they had. This was their home. I think the very last day, we had our 8 social workers, our social workers that are in bed within the police department, that many told us would never work, Chief. It won't work, Mayor. And we've proven them wrong year after year after year. And so we went in there with the team, with Carl's folks. I think the very last day on Saturday, we had 3 that really had no place to go, and we were able to put them into housing. So I can't thank this group enough for all their help, because not every problem in a community is a police problem. We have a big part of it, but we really move the needle and make a difference when we come together like this. So thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, thank you. Orion, do you have anything you want to add?
Well, going forward, we do have a group of civil enforcement officers in the city. My name is Orion Goff, and I supervise that group of inspectors, and we do proactive inspections on apartments. And a lot of the landlords are really good about making the corrections that they need to make, but some are not. And this was one of those that's been resistant for years and years and years. So it's a good outcome, especially in the winter. I've been through a few of these, and having the ability to place these people, take them out of bad circumstances, is a really good outcome. But going forward, we'll make sure that the building is secure until it's ready to be reused or torn down or whatever becomes of it.
Done elsewhere and adopted it here, or how did you put this together? Because last meeting it was like, this is impossible.
Well, we're using the tools we do have and just doing it differently, right? So, you know, it's one thing to just try and shut something down. It's another to hold people accountable with the tools that you have. And that's what we did. We were holding this property owner accountable for violations that we could put on paper and say, you're violating X, Y, and Z, and you have 30 days to fix that. And I think that matters. You know, yeah, you could try to change some things at the state level. There's a lot of property owners that are in government. You know, so I think what we did is just got creative with the tools we had and came together as a team to figure it out. So
Just real quick on that. Just, I mean, another huge success that I have to take my hat off and applaud Mayor Biskupski for is the Gateway Inn, just across the town. Another problem, and again, we used police resources and a nuisance abatement law to go after that. But it was fresh eyes under good leadership that really focused us to those problems. And there was a
all of that more readily available in one place, right?
Resource centers will have that inside of them.
And I'm just spitballing here. Is there any thought or consideration to creating like mobile units that are more proactive in reaching out to these people and in going to the hotels? Because you know, I spoke to this last month, and I live right by the Georgia apartments, and the assumption I lived with was that those were cheap apartments and everyone needs their place, so like I'm willing to deal with it. To find out that they were going for the rent they had been going through for was, I felt, almost criminal. And I think this was, by all standards, hugely successful. but we have these hotel problems, we have this sort of stuff. Is there any thought to like a proactive group to go in and like directly take outreach to these people that may not be sitting in a place, but maybe moving around?
Yeah, I think we learned a lot from the Georgia apartments, and we need to dialogue around that. We walked into circumstances we weren't anticipating. Right? So what does that look like and how do we do that? So that's a conversation we need to have.
And thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. You again.
This community does care about the motel issue on State Street. And thank you for the Gateway Inn. Thank you for Georgia Apartments. You've actually done more than anybody else in the last decade. Thank you. But those motels have been there and been crime magnets for decades. And anything you can do to fix that, because it's not just drugs, crime, and human trafficking, it's everything. And it really does impact the residents that live a block away.
Yeah.
So anything you can do would really be appreciated. I'm hoping for not just Gateway Inn, but a few more motels ending up in the news. If you
You'll
can.
see that, I think.
Thank you.
Yep. Yep.
I just had a little promo. We tried to close down our alley because of the crime, and we're just a block off State and between 15th and 14th South. And we were told that we wanted to just gate it, and we were told that it had to go through everyone and that you don't gate alleyways anymore because of the egress or the fire code or whatever. But we wanted to offer as a pilot project.
Nick, do you want to talk to this a little bit?
Gate it instead of like giving it back to the residents, do you know what I mean? Just gate it, and then you guys have a key so that we don't have through traffic and people living in our alleys anymore.
Yeah, so anytime we close off for any reason a public alley, that's something that has to be decided by the city council. So I'm not sure what your pilot program is. There have been some in commercial districts where the city council has approved the gating of alleys, and they pay they're basically paying for what is essentially public property to use that. I haven't seen that in residential districts. One thing I do know that we have sent to the city council is to change the process a little bit so that it's not as high of a threshold for neighbors. I think that probably says you need like 80% of your residents who live on the alley to sign it. We're trying to drop that.
Oh, we have that.
So I'm more than happy to.
You have that?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's also an application.
All right. Then
Oh,
we'll talk. So if you'll schedule a meeting.
Yep, I can give you my card and we can contact.
That'd be great.
That'd be great.
I do have to say that we have seen less homelessness and less. I think things have been cleaning up a bit in terms of just safety issues. So I don't know what's going on, but Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's coming at problems from all angles. We have been trying to address everything from job creation, you know. We've created a those types of things matter, right? So it's a lot of good work happening. Yeah, it's great. Thank you. All right. Thank you. David, do you want to do a legislative update and answer any questions people might have on resource centers?
Sure. So there's about 28 hours left. All of us at the city are counting down. Can't wait. As you know, the legislature ends at midnight. Time to die. We've actually had a lot of great success this legislative session. I've crumpled it up, but there's some paper back there that shows our priorities. One of our big priorities, and a lot of the credit goes back to Laura Reefer, our Director of Public Utilities, is we had 3 key water bills that help us keep the water that you drink safe, and also institute some key changes that will hopefully keep this from coming up year after year. All 3 bills have passed both bodies and are on their way to the governor for signature. So that has been a big success. We are still working on a piece of housing legislation. Passed before next tomorrow. Any questions that I can answer? I could bore you with legislative talk. That's all I've been doing.
I will say the water thing is a really big deal. Every year there's an attack on the city and how we manage water. But you know, we're diligent because we not only provide water for this community, we provide it for 1 million people. And we take that work very seriously, and the day I hired Laura to run the department, she brought in right now. Mike left, and he did great work while he was there, and I think we worked him into the ground. But remarkable team that Mike was leading, and they did incredible work, and so grateful for his time with us. But he is on his way to his next journey, whatever that looks like. So all good things.
So
Human resource centers,
yes,
anything?
The homeless resource centers. So I learned a long time ago, you never correct your boss in public, but I'm gonna do it, and then she can just kick me.
This is on camera.
I know, right? How horrible of me. South Salt Lake, actually we're looking at a mid-September timeline in terms of the completion.
Oh, I was at a meeting today and they said August.
Oh, really? Well, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see.
We'll see.
August to September. August to September, yeah.
Somewhere.
But as the mayor said, the Salt Lake City sites are on time to open June. So
yeah.
It's been actually. Schedule a hearing, they can. Initially, as it was drafted, would require a municipality to go to the committee before doing anything. And so now all we need to do, Laura's nodding her head, so I'm getting it right, provide notification, and if they want to have a hearing, they can. But that did pass the Senate today. House was Senate. I thought I saw another.
It did.
I thought I saw another hand. George.
I have a question about, probably for Laura Briefer, about hydrofluorosilicate. The stuff you put in water for fluoride, is it
water was flowing through the pump. So we did confirm that, but we did take a good hard look. The other thing that we did was review our fluoride system and an emergency protocol for water contamination events in general. And we've got a few items that we are following up on in terms of public notification, emergency management, and operating our emergency operations center and joint information system.
Thank you. I am, oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. Just 3 small items. Any RDA update, and people are really worried about the inland port, so they asked me to ask. And then the other thing is we heard that the United Nations is coming here in August, which is really excited for the NGOs.
Yes.
And what can we do as citizens to help?
So I'll start with the last one because that's so exciting. So yes, the United Nations non-governmental orgs from around the world are convening in Salt Lake City this August. This conference has been going on for 67 years. It is the first time it will be on U.S. soil. And I'm very excited to be the city that hosts this opportunity. They have been outside of the UN in New York, but in other countries. This is the first time it's being hosted by a city and not a country or right in New York at the UN. So very unique opportunity for our city. Probably about 35 people are on that committee right now, and 20 of them are going to the UN later this month to meet with them about the work that they are doing. So they'll be convening a good segment of this convention, and then we'll have others. We just selected a chair for this event. She is from, oh gosh, I can't remember where she's from. But we'll be announcing that, and then we have the Undersecretary General coming here at the end of this month, and we're doing an announcement with her as well on this event. But it really will be an extraordinary conversation about how but we can tee that up for next month and make sure we have somebody here to talk RDA, for sure. And then
Inland port.
People
worried about environment.
Yes, as we should be. You know, our values as a community don't always align with the state. And I think that's probably the underlying concern that everyone's having, is that the state just came in, they took our land, they took our land use authority, they took our tax dollars. What are they going to use those for, right? I mean, it's unnerving, for sure. So, yeah, so the city filing a case against the state is really about the Ripper Clause, about taking municipal core functions and giving them to someone else to do. And we believe that there's an overreach, and that the Ripper Clause needs to be reviewed by a judge, and we need some rulings here. So we'll see what happens, but I think we have a very strong case. Interestingly enough, for, and I hope you'll reach out to your council member and encourage that person to get behind me and stand with me on this endeavor.
Excellent.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Any other questions from anyone?
We heard from a lot of regulars.
I just wanted to say thank you for all the work you're doing on climate change.
Yeah.
I had the opportunity to see you in San Francisco for the Global Climate Action Summit, and it's just incredible to see our mayor on the global stage leading non-state actors in this, so just thank you for all the work that you're doing.
Welcome.
I wanted to ask if you could explain a little bit your vision for what will change by 2030. I feel like we don't necessarily see as much the positive transformation that will come from what we're doing to decarbonize. Could you talk a little bit about what that might look like?
Yeah, so the big thing is, so part of it is vehicles, right? Like, so we've got to get people out of their cars, which is why we're working so hard and fast on transit. If we can create a cleaner environment for transportation, I think that helps, because cars are about half of our problem, right? All the pollution from our cars, and we see it. We see it. We'll have a storm, it's all gone, and then all of a sudden we all get in our cars, and then we're surprised. Like, it's just horrible. Invest in your housing project, but you got to go clean, right? So there are some things that we can do. So any city building that we build, we're working to net zero. The airport, we tried net zero. We're not there. We're a gold lead, I think, at this stage, which is pretty great. But you know, I really wanted us to be able to be net zero as well, and maybe by the time we get there, technology will be such that we might be able to do that. The technology isn't quite right yet. So what we are doing is working with building owners right now, and we do a little contest, but believe it or not, it matters. You as somebody who rents a building, or you as a property owner, we are giving out awards for partners who are doing their part to clean up their buildings, right? So as they clean, partnership with Rocky Mountain Power. So right now they're building electric charging stations from Yellowstone to Disneyland. And that comes through I-80 and I-15, and it seeps into our national parks. So when that's done, that's like a $14 million project they're funding. Some of that money's coming from the federal government. But once we have that charging network, it'll be easier for us to get more vehicles. Like my Subaru dealer right now gets one new hybrid Subaru a month. Just my one dealer gets one a month. Like, that's pretty crazy, because the cars, the manufacturers are sending them to where the mandates are. So they're not building them because there's not enough mandating. So it's different. It'll be interesting. vehicles, I think, so far to people, not giving them out, but making them affordable. So we buy down the price of them and then people can afford them. And that's through several partnerships we have with dealerships and the university. It's a pretty cool partnership. So we're working as fast as we can. It's interesting work for sure.
Just a point of clarification, you said reducing carbon about 80%.
By 2040.
Is that citywide, the whole population, or are you talking about just
citywide.
the city vehicles and
no,
city
citywide.
buildings?
So that's the whole city. We're going 100% renewable.
How do you look to do that with so much of Salt Lake's having this
yeah. So we're one
transitory population
right.
that
We're
comes in
one
and out.
partner in the whole scheme of things, right? So at the end of the day, other communities have to do their part. I mean, we're all breathing the same air. We're creating the path for other communities to follow. Like, that's our agenda, right? So we have the experts, we have the journey, we've kind of mapped out the course, and we're tracking all this data. So all that's through the Department of Sustainability. In fact, Vicki Bennett used to be the chair for the sustainability directors across the country. And so she's a real leader in and of herself in this work we do. So the partnership with her has been great, but she and her team are the ones that are tracking everything. And so we know and we can measure the impact we're having in what we do.
That's great.
Yeah, it's really a neat project.
Question. You were talking about the goal was to make the airport, the new airport, a net zero.
Well, that's my goal.
Right, but that was the goal. But the question is, was that the facility, or was it the bigger picture of the airport in general, including the jets?
So the jets are going cleaner.
Yeah, but
that's,
they're massive
yes,
generator of carbon emissions,
they are.
and I can't
they
imagine
yeah.
that it was just a facility. It kind of reminds me of like the ski resorts. I mean, I applaud the effort of making the ski resort sustainable, except that you figure people are getting on jets and flying from all over the world to come ski at our resorts that are net zero. It sometimes seems absurd.
Yeah, the airline industry is cleaning their fuel up as well. Yeah. So that work is happening simultaneously, which is very helpful to us. Yeah, but I get what you're saying. Yeah, we'll have more traffic for sure. We already have more traffic than people even can imagine.
Yeah, it would be nice if the whole airport was net zero.
Yeah, we couldn't
we get electric airplanes.
We couldn't get the geothermal part to work quite the way we needed it to.
Now, I think a lot of progress is being made with cars, but when I drive down the road, you see these trucks, old trucks, and they are absolutely horrible. Just
right.
said the news reported that one snowplow truck put out enough pollution that equals 63 cars.
Yes. So it's interesting. Apparently it's 98% cleaner than a diesel. So we'll see. That was just brought to me last week, and we'll see what that opportunity really turns out to be. But I haven't done any research on the science around that. Interestingly enough, I had a group travel here from Serbia who wanted to talk about what we're doing on clean energy, and they're touring different places here in southern Utah and in the city and around to see what we are doing. And they also talked about this renewable source of taking methane, and that's one of their strategies that they are using. So we'll see, but I'm excited that Dominion is trying to figure out how to play a part in this and what they could do. So it's a neat idea, I think. we'll see.
Anti-idling bill passed, right?
Yes, I think so.
I'm not sure it has yet.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, the ban the bag is gone. So, you know, ban the ban on the bags died. So, that's my Minnesotan.
I don't know if this seat falls within Salt Lake City's boundaries or not, but do you know of any efforts being done to address the refineries that we know are major polluters in the area?
You know, most of that work was done years ago. I think 90% of what they were doing for pollution has been reduced. Like they are probably 10. Manufacturing and refineries and all that are only like 10% of our problem today. It's interesting. They did all that work before we started doing all this other work because that was so visible, right? I mean, we still see it, right? But like even the refinery.
Just on the construction side, I know that construction is a huge provider of carbon emissions and waste. Is there any sort of initiatives planned for the building process to be, for Salt Lake City to apply to reduce our waste and reduce our carbon emissions on that side of it?
You know, Nick, do you want to talk a little bit? I can tell you a couple things. We partnered with a group called Give Group on an affordable housing project. And net zero, the first net zero affordable housing project in the state. They built it. I think they have units that are as low as $250 a month. There's battery packs. There's charging stations. It's a remarkable project that you should tour. And they shared how they did it. And
total waste that they produce. That ordinance right now is intended to measure the success of that, and then after, I think we said after about 5 years of having it in place, we go back and to see if it's working and what the next steps are. So there's something on the books to help with that.
Yeah. Is that tracking, like, do you audit people, the contractors, or is this just the plan at the beginning?
I believe there is an audit, so our sustainability office, they're the ones who measure those things. So they submit the plan first, and then I think that they require them, or ask them to submit some sort of documentation how they did that, like receipts from various recycling places and landfills.
sustainability is measuring data all the time because we're trying to keep track of our progress, right? So everything we do is part of that progress. Everything.
I just asked, I guess second you, but architectural contractors, and I don't believe they're being checked out as far as I know.
My understanding is that they're supposed to submit something.
Yeah, it's all paperwork. You know? Yeah, no, I get it. Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Oh,
that's
sorry.
okay. I can talk to him after. It was related to recycling. I know some communities around the country have been having issues with China's market shifts and not accepting recycling materials anymore. Has Salt Lake City heard from its recycling contractors and what their strategy is for dealing with that, or if that will impact some of your future anytime soon?
The only negative impact so far was the plastic bags, you know. So it's good that that bill didn't pass, because we really need to work with our local grocers to get them to move away from the plastic bag. That's the one thing that I can tell you that we're not, you know, the grocery stores are collecting them.
Amend our election cycle. I mentioned at the beginning that I thought we might need a board quorum to do it, but I realized the board has already voted in quorum to propose this amendment to the community, so it's up to you guys to vote on this now. You have a chance to review it at previous meetings. Basically what the amendment would do, and there were pages at the back that would outline it, we would be shifting our election cycle to fall in December. And the elections would take place in December. New officer terms would start in January. This would be effective December 2019. And in order to accommodate that transition, we would have an interim election in June, which is our normal, our current election cycle. So we would have an interim election of just 6 months to get us through to start our new election cycle in December. So I wanted to put the amendment to the community. All those in favor of amending the bylaws?
Really bad. I was chair. That's a really bad time because the year seems to go from September to July and things stop. So that's my only objection.
We have maintained board involvement throughout the year. Our board members have stayed on.
Yeah, that's my only objection.
Yeah, and that is a fair point. We will make sure to promote the elections leading up to December. Our meeting is at the very beginning of the month of December, so we wouldn't nudge too close to the holidays. And I think also there is the opportunity to, obviously, if it fails drastically, then we can go back to the drawing board and amend the bylaws again if we need to.
Because if it were more like September, October, that would make more sense to me.
Unfortunately, that would not align with our fiscal year, and what we're trying to do is to get our election cycle to align with our business year, so that any financial decisions, closing of the books, audits, that would align with our elections and make sure that the new officers coming on board have clean books and clean budgets to move forward.
That's right.
Yeah, no, I appreciate your point. That is a good point. Do we have enough people to vote on this now?
Yes.
Okay, great. So, discussion, any other discussion points? Call the question.
Let's vote.
Excellent. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?